lock on the bottom right here. One goes down here, and then another one out here, like this. And you drill a hole through here, like that. And the carriage bolt sits like this. And this hole intersects to this, so that when you get these two, and then I got a dado cut that to where if this is a 2x4, the end of the 2x4 is going to look like this. And then the receiving side will have a hole in it so that they slip in and lock. And that goes to the middle, and then we tighten it up by tightening this down, which compresses it. So there's a lot of little figuring on this, in that the spanners will actually have a dado cut like that, and all that material will be gone, so this will be sticking out. And then on the end piece, the end cap that goes on this other side, there'll be that dimension here, and this will be cut out. So when they come together, it'll be click, they'll be in, then the bolt goes through, you tighten it in, and that's a solid connection. It won't twist, it'll stay tight, because after time, wood contracts and expands and everything. You'll have to, every once in a while, if it starts getting loose, get in there with a wrench, just tighten them up. It'll be 4 each side, tighten them all up, and it just tightens the cabinet up. It's kind of cool. These are the spanners. So I'm going to make another end piece. Like I said, it's 3 foot wide. The base of it will be 6 foot. The table overhang another foot on each side. And the big question is what do you do with the outside? Put a 45 in here and put an end piece on here. I can't have too much bulk out here because there's a clamp that's going to go on the outside of this. But around the whole table on the outside, on this side here, because MDF is really brittle on the edge, and this will chip out eventually, I'm going to rim the whole side of the table with 2x4. Cut this at a 45. So it'll be a little bit wider than 3 foot, but only by 3 inches, 1.5 inches each side, which is nice because if you bump into the MDF, this will hurt. But this will be cut at a 45, and then I'll round the corner, so if you happen to bump into it with your hip, you don't cut yourself open or give yourself a good bruise. I like bruises. But this, as you can see, these just basically, I'll show you real quick. They're nice and tight. What's going to happen is I'll have 4 spanners, and I can't put these in, but what's going to happen is I'm going to dry fit it all, and then I've got a bit I will drill through here and fit this in. And that's what the spanner bolts are for. These carriage bolts. Those right there. That way I can tighten it up and keep it tight. Put the MDF on top of it, put glue down all the way around it, include the spanner between the cross piece between the 2 spanners, and then take the next sheet, put it on top, plan your screws out, because if you've got a wood vise on the side or wherever, you do not want to have the screws where you're going to be putting your dogs at, which is the holes that hold put pins in to hold your wood. The only hard part, I mean, the only thing that's going to be kind of difficult, it's going to take the most amount of time, is doing the spanners, cutting out the holes so the bolts go through. But everything I've read and everything I've seen, it's very important that you can tighten up your table, because the amount of weight that's on it, and you're always moving around, you want to be able to tighten it up. And that, I wanted to make sure I put that in there. Alright, 6 foot by wood I'm using is white pine, pro quality. It's stud, but it's pro quality, which means that it's got a bit cleaner finish on it. Plus it's drier. And I'm just looking for the straightest pieces I can put on here. Which on this piece is going to be on this side. And you can use pretty much whatever you want, but the way wood prices are, this stuff runs about $8 a stick, and I like the fact that you can get it, and it's pretty dry. That's the pro quality, and the reason why they have pro quality is, say for instance you're doing an addition inside your house, you don't exactly want to put some wood that you would use for like framing a house. You don't want to do that. You typically want to use like a pro quality, because it's already dry and reasonably dry. I mean, there's still a little bit of moisture in it, but not that much to worry about. Then that way you're not introducing more moisture in your house. So when you do like additions, like a garage addition, or you're adding a bonus room or something like that, they'll use this wood. You pay about $1 more a stick. It's worth it. As you can tell, the wood is real clean, cuts nice, and overall it's really cool. So these are the lower spanners, and the reason why I'm dry fitting them in right now is I want to make sure that my measurements are correct. Once I get them set where I want them to go, I'll clamp them in real quick so they don't move around too much. The reason why I'm measuring it is to square it up, make it a rectangle. If you got a rectangle and this side's too much, it turns it just slightly, and it'll make this point to this point too long, and this point to at this point will be shorter. So if you get it exactly the same, it's square. And you can double check it by taking a square. You can see it's slightly off, but it's because this piece here is not all the way in, but I know the posts are square. So now I'm not really worried about these, just want to hold them in place. But what I want to do now is I know it's where it's going to go and how it's going to go. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to mark these. 1, 2. Why am I doing this? This is rough wood. This hasn't been finished out in any way. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm measuring each side, when I put it back together, it matches what I've just done. Because of the inconsistency of the wood, that's the only disadvantage of using this kind of wood. It'll just keep things tighter. So once you get all that marked out, then I can take a look at the tightest one, which is probably this one right here. So you can see how this is done. I take my carriage bolt, and because it's a one-off, if I was doing a whole bunch of these, I would have already a plan, measurements, and all that fun stuff. With the carriage bolt, if you notice, it's got a little square thing. Typically, you can put it into a piece of metal, a square piece of metal, and it will lock that in place. This doesn't have that because it's going to lock into the wood when I tighten it up. So you want to, when you're measuring this, you want to go ahead and put this so it's flat to this. And it's more kind of a, get the squaring it up. And I only have to do this on one, because once I get the measurement for it, it's pretty much done deal. But I want it right about there. Give it about 1 inch on one side. You don't need much more than that. And I put a mark right there. And I know I got to come out 7 3/4. From the inside here, that's where the wood butts up to. I got to come out 7 3/4 at least. And this is where the flat part of the hole has to go here, and then this will come back like that. So when I take the carriage bolt and it's threaded on the other side over here like this, you'll see where it ends up. The washer ends up here, the carriage bolt ends up there. I'll probably kick this back to a 7.5. I don't like having only that amount of thread to work with now that I'm looking at it, so I'll probably kick it back to about right there. And that should be right at 7.5. 7 3/8, but I'm going to go ahead and make it 7.5. So it's always a good idea to have a cheat sheet. Here's my cheat sheet right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say 7.5 for my spanners. That way I don't forget it. Now I can take this whole thing apart, go to the drill press, start doing my spanners, get out a wood chisel, cut in my squares, put them back on, drill the holes, stick my carriage bolts in, tighten them down, and literally it is like almost 90% done, the framing. it off, get all the particles off. Basically what it is, it's 3/4 inch MDF followed by a layer of glue, screws, and another layer of 3/4 MDF, which is just a really highly compressed wood, particle wood. This is what it looks like when it's been sawed. It's just powder. But it makes it really, really, really hard. So the fun part is getting the sheet up. If you're doing it by yourself, this is the best way of doing it. Slides pretty easy right now. And then you don't want to hit the edge of MDF with a hammer. Take a block of wood, that's the width, and lightly tap. And this will get everything even. You can see it all straightens out. Set. It's got an issue. Go around quite a few times, and don't worry, afterwards I'll trim it off with the skill saw. So I cut it a little bit big just so I can trim it. And once it's set, it's all good. Here comes the screws. Now obviously I've been changing the pattern of how I'm screwing it in with each set. The reason for that is you don't want to have screws on top of screws. Now the one area that I will not be screwing into is the end down here, because that's where I'm going to have wood vise, and I'll have dog holes in there. Well, you can have screws, you just got to be real careful where you put them. I'll be putting some in, but long ones. I've got to make sure that I map it correctly. Oh, one more here. This will be the last. Long ones down here. And what I'm going to do is I know I'm going to have dogs in here, so I'm going to go right in the middle of it. And I'll bring them all together. And I know I'm not going to have them on the edge, so I'm going to go on the edge here. That tightens it all up. So now we go to the next row. You don't want to go here then there because you want it to lay flat. So the whole idea of laying it flat is just like making a bed. You want to have it like a sheet. Because my vise is going here. So it'll clamp into here, and then I don't have any screws in this area, but it's all tied together. So that's it for the top.